what that's about. But hello, entrepreneurs. Joe DeChara, an entrepreneur that happens to have a CPA license, about to interview another entrepreneur that happens to be an attorney. But before we get into that, if you're watching live, please give us a hashtag live. If you're watching the replay, you're not going to be able to ask us live questions, obviously. But if you do have questions for either one of us, uh, we will definitely. I'll pass it on to Steve. And the great thing about technology and Facebook is you can't hide. If you put something in that comment, I'm going to know about it and I'll pass it on. But enough about me and the show. I love interviewing entrepreneurs. And like I told Steve, I don't remember ever speaking to him. If we did, it's his fault for not being memorable. I stole that from somebody else. But anyway, I like to just get to know people right off the bat, and we do it live.
Hmm.
So this isn't scripted. Is that? And I'll swear under oath if I have to. Steve. Are you a trial lawyer? All I know is that you're an entrepreneur that happens to be an attorney, and I could respect that.
I've done trial work in my past. I don't do it now. Just as I get older, the amount of stress and work and everything else that goes into trial work is just something I just don't want to do anymore. So I've transitioned into other areas of practice.
That's interesting because my son is an attorney and he loves going to court, but I could see, it is stressful. But
Hmm.
he's young. He's like 31. I'm like, okay, it just takes time, right?
Give them another decade, you'll see.
I figured that. Well, most attorneys don't they usually go out on their own? Like a lot of attorneys, if they're entrepreneurial, I guess, or they just see they can make a lot more money. Isn't it like 10 years, and then they get that? That's what happened with me with accounting.
Well, I think it depends, Joe, on the kind of person. There are people that have that entrepreneurial itch. They want to work for themselves. They have that kind of self confidence and independence and things like that. Other people take a different path. They may go into public employment or be a prosecutor or a U.S. attorney or an attorney general of the state, or they'll work for a big firm, and they're not interested in being entrepreneurs. They're happy to be employed and practicing law, and that's what they love. And great if that's for them. But I would agree with you that at some point, uh, maybe less than 10 years, depending upon the person, if they have that itch, yeah, they're going to want to go out on their own.
I'm just going by, I have a friend that what does she do? She does something with attorneys. She had a lot of attorneys. Oh, some kind of support for attorneys.
Okay.
But she said, in fact, she was launching a side business just for attorneys that wanted to go out on their own. And
Okay.
we were going to partner together because I help people set up businesses. But
Mm-hmm.
okay, so let's talk. You're absolutely right. It always comes down to a scientific percentage of people that are entrepreneurs. We need people like my son that are going to be employees.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably never going to go out on his own. He did a lot of clerkships for judges,
Mm-hmm.
supreme, like, and I think he might want to go back into that. I don't know, but that's a government job, and uh, we need attorneys. Put it that way. But we also need entrepreneurs. So let's talk about that. How long did it take you? First of all, where are you?
I'm in southern New Jersey, for those who are
Oh, okay.
familiar with the area of Gloucester County.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
mhm.
Okay. So we're neighbors. I'm on Long Island right now. I'm probably
All
moving
right.
back to Queens soon, but we could actually meet face to face. Most of the people I meet now they're in California, Texas,
Mhm.
so you can't just drive and meet people. So how long did it take you before you realized that you wanted to go out on your own?
Well, I passed the bar and started practicing in 1985, and I opened my own office in 2000. So the arithmetic would say 15 years. So maybe I'm on the far end of your curve as far as 10 years are concerned. Maybe I'm
I
just
don't
a late
know.
bloomer. I don't know.
I have a small sample size, and uh, I've had plenty of attorneys as clients, and some of them went out after 2 or 3 years, and
Mhm.
it wasn't pretty.
Well, I was lost you somehow.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm just getting a spinning thing on my screen.
I
Uh,
think yeah, it's not on my end.
Okay, I'm doing something on my end. Well, I was before I left and opened my own firm in 1991. I started working for a firm in the area, and they, I guess the itch was more to be, there you go, a partner in that firm. So I was trying to move
Okay,
up in the ranks and et cetera. It's a small
yeah,
firm here, and I realized finally that I wasn't going to get anywhere, and that if it
that
was
that
going to
makes
happen, I had to make it happen. So I guess I had that itch within your 10-year period. It just, I tried it a different way. When I realized it just wasn't going to work, I moved on and moved
yeah.
out.
I tried that with accounting firms too.
Hmm.
Uh, but so are you still practicing or do you have other businesses?
Well, no, I'm still practicing. I can see sort of the light at the end of the tunnel as far as retirement is concerned, but no, I'm still actively practicing. I've started, I guess, a lot of people start their own businesses as a side hustle. Well, I started this business 21 years ago, and now I'm starting a side hustle. So I'm an entrepreneur with a business starting a side hustle in just helping other solo attorneys to get to realize and understand and learn what I did over the past 21 years. And instead of taking them that long, sort of push them along a little bit more. They learn from what I learned, walk in my footsteps and develop, start thinking about their firms as a business. Because I think, and I'm sure you've run into this with CPAs. You talk about an entrepreneur that happens to be a CPA. I'm an entrepreneur happens to be an attorney, but so many attorneys, well, I'm a professional. I just want to practice law. And if I do a good enough job, then, and I have a big enough ad in the yellow pages or whatever it is, the work will come in and I'll have a good living. But they don't see it as a business. They see it as a professional practice. And because they don't do that, they don't think about it more analytically and more strategically as far as how they market it, the kind of clients they go for, things like that. And I think they make some mistakes just in how they handle the practice that an entrepreneur might make and understand that there are better choices to be made with how the business is run and how money is made, et cetera.
Okay, so hold on a second. So you made a couple of good points there that I want to point out. The first thing is having a coach.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's no coincidences. I mean, I've heard that. I keep hearing that. When you say something like, did you ever see a yellow Volkswagen and you never? Then you go outside and you see like 10 of them.
That's the reticular activating system. You've been
Oh my god!
sensitized to notice things. It's like saying, "Don't think of the color blue." Well, of course, you can't help
Right.
but think of the color blue, and you look around and you
So
see the color blue everywhere because your brain's been trained and put on alert to notice it.
it could be, or there's just weird coincidences because one of the
Mm-hmm.
thing I read this book about Stoics, okay, and
Mm-hmm.
they're Marcus Aurelius, and you're talking about like 2,000 years ago, and I read 10 of them a day. They're like short paragraphs,
Mm-hmm.
and I think two of them had to do with coaches. They didn't call them coaches, but it was like, oh, he worked with him, and he was a mentor, and then just to like YouTube. Who was it? Oh, Les Brown. You know Les Brown?
Yes,
He
musician.
spoke today at my friend's mastermind meeting. So I
Okay.
said, "Oh, let me listen to his YouTube channel." And he was speaking about coaching. And
Mm-hmm.
then when he came on live and he was talking about coaching again. So it's almost like, okay, I have a coach.
Mm-hmm.
People, and so that's the first thing. Attorneys need coaches. You know what?
Absolutely.
Heart surgeons need coaches because we're stuck in what we're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't see it. And the other thing you talked about was what we call the EMyth. You know Michael Garber?
Yes.
Okay.
He wrote the EMyth and then partnered with different professionals to rewrite and release the book more vertically, and partnered with a couple of attorneys and wrote the EMyth Attorney, an excellent book.
He did do one for attorneys, right? I think
Mm-hmm.
one for a dentist, and
Mm-hmm.
one of my mentors, she's actually on my team. She worked for him for 3 years. So she
Okay.
but the E myth is, okay, I'm an attorney and I'm going to open up my own practice.
Mm-hmm.
Or I know how to cook, I'm going to open up a restaurant. No. It's what you said. They don't look at it as a business, and that's
Mm-hmm.
what happened. And those are the people that we teach. We take on the same, so it's needed. It's
Mm-hmm.
definitely needed. Because think of it, do you want an attorney that's great at what he's doing, but he's like sidetracked because he doesn't know how to bill and he's got
Yeah.
money problems?
And you leave money on the table because you underbill, or you want to be competitive, so you
So
want to be, and it becomes a race to the bottom. And
how
I
so
think that a lot of attorneys are starting to realize that it isn't worth it. Oh, you want it for less? Okay, somebody else will do it for less, but I won't.
so I read a book and it changed my thinking in the accounting world. It's called The Science of Getting Rich.
Okay.
It was a book that started the secret. That's what she read, the same book, and did produce The Secret.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I think if the attorneys looked at it, well, a lot of attorneys work with each other, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not what you're saying is you can't make it into a commodity, right? They're underbidding each other for like,
Well, that's what happens is the way the attorneys try to market, and if they go on price, you are a commodity. If somebody's just Googling, like one of my practice areas is bankruptcy attorney. Well, if somebody's just Googling bankruptcy attorney near me, then they're going to get a list of attorneys and they're going to start calling, and they don't see that any one attorney as being the one for them. They just go through and start calling attorneys and start getting price quotes, as opposed to, well, the way I market is I don't want the person that's just going down through the Google list. I want someone that comes to my website with a question. A lot of times people with legal problems start with having questions and they start Googling around trying to get the answers. Well, I want them to find me. And if
you're a
and they
real
get enough answers to their questions, and you're building authority with that prospect, and who do you think they're going to call when they're ready to hire one? They're going to call you because you've established yourself as the expert, as the guy or the gal to go to, and you stop being a commodity, and you start being able to charge a fee that will build your business and give you a good life.
So you just explained what a friend of mine's been teaching us. He's got a marketing mastermind, and
Mm-hmm.
you're right, spot on. Because yeah, those are the quality clients. You get somebody that, and then they'll jump ship as soon as somebody else comes in that's cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
But these are fundamental business question. What problem are you solving? It's not just the price. It's like, are you going to fix the problem?
Yes.
And that's what you want to talk to them about, because now you got them as a client if you
Mm-hmm.
want them. So now, getting back, I like to keep these like 20 minutes or less because that people don't have an attention span, and we covered a lot of stuff. But now getting into the nitty gritty, because I know that any business needs systems. You know,
Hmm.
we go by the franchise system, the McDonald's system.
It
And
talks about that in the ebook, in the
yeah,
EMyth.
yeah,
Michael Gerber talks about
exactly. I mean,
Ray Kroc. Hmm.
I bring up McDonald's because that was my first job, and I thought it was hilarious that they paid me to watch these videos, how to do fries, how to flip a hamburger.
That's
I
right.
thought it was great. I'm like, I'm getting paid for this. Now I know why. Because I actually knew how to flip hamburgers because of that stupid video. And that's what Michael Gerber teaches, right? You
Hmm.
gotta have these systems. Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff that attorneys can systematize, correct?
Yes, you need to remove yourself from the business. In other words, if you go into work and this practice can't exist without you, if you get sick, if you're on vacation, everything comes to you. You don't have a business; you have a job, and you're working in that job. And by having these systems, and by being able to say and offloading a lot of the work that you're doing that you really shouldn't be doing as a professional. You can, as a CPA, you don't need to be talking to the client and stepping them through all the documents you need them to get together to prepare their tax return. Or if you're an estate planning attorney, to prepare their estate plan, you have a paralegal do that. And then at a much lower rate, at cost. And then you're spending time in your practice actually preparing the documents or reviewing them after a paralegal prepares them.
Okay.
And I'm going off on,
No,
but
no. I first of all, I'm an expert at interrupting people. Me and my team members are, that's what I do. I'm trying to get better at it, but only in the podcast because you made some very, very important statements that I have to, because it'll go right over people's heads.
mhm,
Uh, but you talked about saving time.
yes.
It'll reduce your cost, right?
Hmm.
So and this kills me, and I think you can relate to this. I used to ask people how much time they spent on bookkeeping and how much money they were like, they thought it didn't cost them anything. They were like,
Hmm.
I don't pay anything. I do it.
Right.
Okay, so your hourly rate is zero. Think about that.
Right.
So your time is your expense, right? If you could
Hmm.
reduce your time, that's a concept I've been trying to teach people. It's not easy because
Well, the
you got to
cost
change
isn't
your
dollars;
mind.
it's in lost productivity. You could be doing so much higher level work. You could be working on perfecting your marketing, on perfecting your message, and doing these things that will bring in better clients. It'll bring
So
in more money. And
give
instead of
us,
working on that, you're writing checks to pay the bills.
yeah, okay, I could go on forever. Give us some practical, no, just things that drive me crazy. I went into a client, she was handwriting over 200 envelopes
Hmm.
or invoices. Okay, we got a lot of work to do, but it's almost like they're trained, they're used to it. You got to
Hmm.
take them out of their comfort zone. I think that's the hard part. They got to change their thinking. As
Hmm.
far as because then they can become control freaks, right?
Oh yeah,
It's going to be hard.
attorneys are control freaks. That's the problem.
Well, I understand that, but I don't know if accountants are control freaks or we're just anal. But yeah, we want to be stuck in the thick of thin things. That's what Stephen Covey called it, right? But
Yes.
give us some practical tips that uh and it's not just attorneys. I think you're talking to entrepreneurs really. You just happen to know the attorney business.
Right.
So that's a good fit. And I know a bunch of attorneys, so I'm definitely gonna uh, consult with you, or you'll have to tell us how you can get in touch with how we can get in touch with you. But
Sure.
give us some like an overview of give us some secrets.
Sure. Well, what as to a particular area? I mean, there's all sorts of
Well,
things.
if let's say I was an attorney, tell me something that's gonna want to make me work with you.
I think there are a lot of attorneys that there's a saying in the practice of law. The practice of law would be great if it weren't for the clients. and that goes to, and I'm sure you've run into that in as an accountant, as any professional. And the reason there's that saying is we're trying to sell to everyone. We're taking everyone on. Okay. And you shouldn't. Not everybody is your client. And I think one of the things that you can do is, if you have a better idea of who your perfect client is, who is that person that you like to work with? And you can probably go through your files and mark them off and say, yeah, this guy's great. I'd love to work with more people like him, and go through all your files and get an idea of who that perfect client is, and start writing down all the attributes, say age, education, that sort of thing, characteristics. And then when you get a clear idea of who this perfect client is, then market to them with those characteristics in mind, and start and gently repel in your advertising and marketing those that aren't perfect fits. And you start working for people that are better clients, that you enjoy working with, that don't cause stress, that are not price sensitive. So you might have fewer cases, but you have a much higher quality of client, and client that can afford to pay you. So instead of going crazy, working 70, 80 hours a week to try and make $1 working with terrible people or your less than ideal client, work 35 or 40 hours with the people that you really enjoy working with, that can pay you on time and give you a better practice and a better quality of life.
Yeah, so I've done this, and one of my principles that I follow is focus.
Mm-hmm.
And when I learned that, I was like, yeah, this makes sense. If I was selling, I had a client that was actually selling water. She was bottling water. She was selling it as a promotional product.
Mm-hmm.
They said, well, who are your clients? And she said, everyone. Everyone drinks water. No, that didn't work out. But when I did it, it was easier to figure
Mm-hmm.
out, to identify who I didn't like working with.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not always easy to say, oh, yeah, I like working with them. And then you got to say why. I was like, because there were more people that I didn't like working with than I did.
Mm-hmm.
And it came down to and then it was a couple of people. We have different avatars, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to say, okay, what's their problem? But without that, you can't drill down. How do you have a marketing message, right? I didn't know that. I didn't know that. And that's key.
And each practice area and each type of problem that you solve has a different avatar. You can't just say, well, these are the types of people I like to work with and deal with in general, but you have to focus it in on each practice area, because they'll be different, and constantly review it and constantly update it every 6 months to a year at the least.
Okay, yeah, because things change, right?
That's right.
I heard bell bottoms were in a couple of years ago, and now they're out again. But and now Pokemon is coming back. Okay, so that's one thing that's excellent. What would you call it? Direction. I don't call it advice anymore. People need direction. And so so you sold me. I'll go to your website. I'd like to learn more about you. How do I do that?
Well, my website is at www.stephenjrichardson.com, Stephen with a V.
Can you put that in the chat?
Yeah, I can put that in. You can put it in the
I
show
would
notes.
do it, but I can't talk and type at the same time. I've had some friends that were actually typing while they were looking at me, and I said, how did you do that?
I'm not that good at touch typist. And of course, the website will get you other contact information. I mean, it's not too hard to figure out. My email address is steve@stephenjrichardson.com.
Right.
And I'm also on Friday launching a book. It should be available through Amazon and Barnes and Noble. It's called see if we can see it. Getting Off the Hamster Wheel is the title of the book. because that's, that's how I felt. I used to feel. I know a lot of solo attorneys and small firm attorneys out there. They feel like they're on a hamster wheel, constantly working and working and working, and they never seem to get anywhere. So this book is about how to get off the hamster wheel.
I did this exercise, and it's funny because my friend has he wrote a book about how to write a book, and he does it on Post-its.
Okay.
So I did it. I said, because I had this memory of one of my clients and how, and it was great, and then it didn't work out. And then I had another, long story short, I kept doing the same thing over and over again, like every 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
I was signing up with the same kind of client, and I was like, oh my God, I had to change the cycle.
Right.
But the hamster wheel, that's what I was on. And it was like a slow hamster wheel, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
I can send you the link to when it's on
yes,
Barnes and Noble and everything, so you can put it in the show notes.
If you're not in my Facebook group, find me, and you could post it in my group. I love stuff like that.
Okay. I can send it to your assistant as well.
So,
okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And then she'll post it. So somebody will post it. Not me.
See, there you go. Not you. You have people for that. And then that's part of being the entrepreneur is you as the business owner, as the entrepreneur, need to concentrate on the big thinking and let the routine stuff and everything else to other people who can do it.
So I'll give you an example, and you could appreciate this. If you would like to be on this podcast, Steve, how did you get on this podcast?
I had you on my podcast.
Okay.
Don't you remember?
No, I said I was on. Okay, now I remember. No, I'm joking. But I didn't get you on here. Corrine got you on here, right? She
reached out. She reached out to me about you being a guest on my podcast,
and that's how
in our chats and everything we talked. She said, "Hey, why don't you come on mine?" I'm like, "Great, sure."
She actually got me on your podcast, so that's the point. We have people. So if you want to be on this podcast, just contact Corrine at bedrockbusinessbuilders.com, and she will take care of it. I guarantee you. Steve, thank you so much. We'll have you back again for some more great information on how to win at business. And I am Joe DiChiara, an entrepreneur with the CPA license. And this is Steve Richardson, an entrepreneur with the law license. And I highly recommend contacting him. Not just if you're an attorney. I would say, would you work with an entrepreneur?
Well, I would work mainly with professionals or anybody that would benefit from what's called information-based direct marketing, where you're marketing and doing a website and providing information. So professionals like lawyers, doctors, accountants, things like that, where they're building out marketing based on knowledge and information that people are seeking. So,
and also we should mention this because do attorneys have like limits on what they could say in their ads?
You're breaking up. I'm having trouble.
Okay.
You were breaking up. I didn't quite hear your question.
Like financial people, they have limits on what they can say in their marketing, right?
Well, the ethics rules change from state to state on attorney advertising. New Jersey has their rules. Florida has their rules. And some are more are looser. Some are stricter. So you really have to go. And I kind of leave it up to the individual attorneys. Look to your ethics rules on what you can do and adapt it there.
Okay.
But New Jersey's pretty reasonable. I don't think they're that restrictive.
Okay. So anyway, thank you so much, Steve, for the bonus question. And I will, let's stay in contact. Let me know when that book is launched.
Absolutely. I'll send you the link.
Thanks a lot. Thank you, everyone. God bless. Thank you for watching. And like I said, if you have a question, if you want to reach out to me or Steve, just put it in the chat. Thank you. Later.